Okay, good afternoon, Tatiana. How are you? You okay?
Very good, thank you.
Okay, Tatiana. Today is our last class in this cycle. We finish today, and we will have a look at the superlatives and comparatives. Okay. The objectives for this class, you will know more the function of these basic kinds of adjectives. You will be able to learn the comparative and superlative, and you learn how to form and use the comparative and superlative forms of adjectives and adverbs. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, before what is the comparative? Comparative is the name. It's the name for the grammar used when comparing two things. The two basic ways to compare are using as or than. No, it's not only you can compare more than two things. For example, I will say you. This pencil is bigger than that pencil. You know, you are comparing these two pencils.
Yeah.
That is the comparatives. Okay? Examples. The cafeteria is not as crowded as usual. You know what is crowded?
No.
Crowd is when there are a lot of people in one cafeteria, you know, but it's busy.
Very people.
Many people,
Many
it's when it's
people.
busy, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Okay. Many people.
Russian is not quite as difficult as Chinese. Okay? Let's say that the Chinese is more difficult than Russian. Okay?
Two countries.
No.
Compare.
No, he speak about the languages. You know?
Ah,
The language is Chinese for this person because that is subjective. Is more difficult than Russian, you know?
yes.
This computer, for example, we have this computer here. It's one example. This computer is better than that one, you know?
Okay.
That is, you are comparing the two computers, yeah? Cheese is stronger at cheese than I am. You know what is cheese?
No.
Cheese is, for example, when you have, it's like a table game. For example, you have horse, you have the queen, you have the king. You know what is?
Yes.
We have black, yes, you know,
Yeah.
black and whites, yeah?
Yeah.
That is cheese.
Okay.
Oh, okay. No cheese for it, no? No. The superlatives. The superlative is used to say what thing, person, or area has the most of a particular quality within a group of this kind. Superlative adjectives normally come before any other adjectives. I will give you some examples. For example, John is the tallest in the class. What does that mean? That, for example, there are 30 students, no? But John is the tallest. You know, you say, and you put EST in there. And after I will explain you the form, okay? But what is that? That say that the one person is big or is tall than all another person. You know? If we speak here about a team, he is the best football player in the team. For example, there are 11 players in one football team. There are one that is the best. They are speaking about of that one, the best. He is the best football player in the team. Is one person that you know.
Yes.
For example, this is the most expensive hotel I've ever stayed in. You know what that means, that or no? that
yes.
he speak that he have stayed in many hotels, but that one is the expensive one. You know?
Yes.
And they need to pay more money.
Yes, more money.
Yeah, exactly. For sleep one night. If in this hotel, or that person spend a lot of money or much money that usual. Okay? Okay, but today I don't check the homework. Today we will speak about the class. What do you think about it? We will chat a little bit. What do you think about the classes, Tatiana, that today are finishing? Your experience like with me like a teacher. What do you think about it? Give me your feedback.
I like the class
Yes.
because I learn
Yeah.
vocabulary,
Yeah.
more words,
Yeah.
the countries, alphabet, vocals, pronunciation, and the words. For me, I have experience, very gratification in the class.
And you are happy with the class, yeah?
I have more practice in the pronunciation, the words.
Yeah.
With you, my teacher.
Okay, you practice the pronunciation with me.
Yes. I understand. Understand sentences. Expression.
Yes.
When I go supermarket, I do shopping.
Yes.
It's more easy.
Easy,
Easy. Shopping.
To speak.
Speak more.
Ah, okay.
Go other people.
You are more fluently,
Yes.
actually,
Yes.
yeah?
Yes.
Yes, now you speak because before you have so many difficulties. Before you were difficult to express yourself by speaking. But now I feel you more comfortable to speaking, more confident as well.
In my work now,
Yeah?
I can speak more con my friends,
With your colleagues.
con my manager.
No, okay.
It's very good. It's very good.
Ah, okay.
Because for class,
You learn some things in the class.
it's very important for me.
Oh, okay, Tatiana. Okay, Tatiana. Where had you been in the problem that happened in Manchester with the bomb last week? Where had you been? Where do you where do you were at this moment?
now,
No, before, because the bomb was 1 week ago, not now.
yes.
You were working, you were sleeping, you were.
No,
In past.
in my home.
You were at home.
Yes, yes. In this moment, I in my bed. Yes.
At that moment you were in your bed.
Yes.
You say, I was in my bed.
Yes, I was in my bed. Yes.
You were sleeping, or you were, okay.
Other day,
Yeah.
listen.
Radio?
Yes. Information. Also.
People in the street, yeah.
Yes.
Was sad, yeah? You agree with that, or what do you think about this kind of things, Tatiana? What do you think about the bomb attack? What do you think? It's not good, it's good, it's excellent, it's bad?
No,
What
it's
do you
good.
think?
No, it's good.
It's not good.
No.
Tatiana, then you were not happy with the bomb attack in Manchester. Yes, it's sad because we lived that in Colombia many years ago. The bombs, the problem, the violence, you know.
Yes, it's very sad. Very sad. And there are many people lost their children.
Yes, because it was a teenager.
Yes.
But
You.
where I have been, I finished work and I took home and I went to the bed for sleep. And the another day, when I wake up, I have so many messages in Facebook from my family. Hi, I hope that you are fine. Nothing happened with you. And immediately I went to Google to read the newspaper, and I found the bomb attack in Manchester, but really I didn't feel nothing in the police, nothing really in the city. But I live probably 10 miles from the Manchester Arena, you know. It's not near from here. But I know someone that have some friend that lost one person in the bomb attack.
Yes. And you, what do you think?
No, but I don't agree. Yes, I don't agree with this kind of things. But you know, it's like the revenge as well from the Islamic. The British, the French, the Americans go to Syria, go to Libya, kill people as well. That we don't listen in the radio, in the newspaper, but it's like the consequence of the things that the British people, or not the British people, the British government, American government do in these countries. And unfortunately the people that don't have nothing to do there pay the consequence of the politician acts, you know. It's something like that. For me it's not good, but unfortunately there are some people that they are not happy with the things that they do in these countries, and we have some consequence.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Yeah, Tatiana, and what you will do, or you will continue in your another English class, or after that, or what do you think to do for learn more English?
Yes, after I I learn English, continuous, learn English in the school.
Okay.
In the school.
What is the name of the school that you are learning actually? In Manchester? Britannia.
Yes.
Britannia School or Britannia Academy or?
Britannia Academy.
It's good?
It's very good.
You are happy?
Yes, yes.
Ah, good. Where is it, in city center or?
Yes, it's in city center near the Piccadilly Garden.
Ah, near to Piccadilly Garden. Okay. Where do you get there? How do you get there? Sorry, where? How do you get your English course? By train or by tramway or by bus? By train? Yeah.
Yes.
How long time you take until city center?
45 minutes.
45 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Tatiana. Look, after 2 beautiful days, finish. No, but we had beautiful days, yeah?
Yeah.
28 degrees here in Manchester. It's
It's
crazy. It's crazy, yeah.
Normally.
Now it's rainy, probably 1 month, 2
In
beautiful
the-
days.
Maybe tomorrow in the morning in sunny. No,
In the
maybe.
forecast for tomorrow, sunny?
Mm.
Okay, what's the
Maybe.
forecast?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Tatiana. Okay, we will continue with our class. Give me a second. Okay, now we will see a video about the topic. Okay, Tatiana, now we will see what is an adjective.
English.com. Teaching you English through 2-minute lessons.
Today's lesson will tell you about adjectives and how they're used.
Hello, dear learner. Today we're going to learn about adjectives. Adjectives are special words which describe something. When you use an adjective, you're saying something about a noun or the subject that you're talking about. Words like long, short, tall, big, small, etc. that describe something that are all adjectives. Pause the lesson and repeat the sentence whenever you want to improve your pronunciation. Make sure you listen to the vocabulary section at the end and improve your word power.
Hello, Victoria. Can we talk about adjectives in today's lesson?
Sure, adjectives are words that give more meaning to nouns by describing them. They answer questions like what kind or how much.
So the adjective describes the person, animal, thing, or place we're talking about.
That's a good point. Good is an adjective. It gives more meaning to the noun point.
So if I said, that's a valid point, valid would be the adjective. You look tired. Are you not well?
I had a long day yesterday and had a disturbed sleep. Long and disturbed are adjectives. They describe my day and my sleep.
Oh, that's why your eyes are puffy. I use puffy to describe your eyes.
Yes, and thanks a lot for mentioning it. By the way, do you have an extra pen?
I have 2 pens, one with blue ink and one with black ink.
2 is the adjective telling how many pens you have, and blue and black are adjectives describing the color of the ink. When I asked you if you had an extra pen, extra is an adjective.
Here's an interesting idea. Why don't we say some phrases with adjectives? Interesting describes my idea, so it is the adjective.
Sure, that's a beautiful house. This was my first bicycle. He is a slow learner.
I buy and repair damaged cars. The lasagna is delicious. It is an empty hallway.
That's enough. Now we don't have to be hesitant in identifying adjectives.
Yes, hesitant is an adjective in your sentence.
Nice catch, Marshall. Let's listen to some sample conversations now.
Hey Ted, your paintings are fantastic.
Thanks, Robin. Yours look amazing too.
How many paintings have you sold so far?
I've sold 3.
That's good. I've noticed that you use contrasting colors.
Yes, I do. Your style is more peaceful though.
My friends say it's a reflection of my classic nature.
Tim, I need to move out. My present apartment is unlivable.
Why do you need to move again? You just moved a month ago, and you said it was beautiful.
It's beautiful, all right, but my roommate Hannah is very annoying.
Why is she annoying? Is she very talkative?
No, but she's an insomniac. She's awake all night, and she keeps the TV running all the time.
Valid. Something that's correct or reasonable. When you say something that is true and people will accept it, it's a valid thing. Puffy. Something that is swollen or bloated is called puffy. People use puffy to describe something that's bulging and out of shape.
Hesitant. When you're not sure about doing something, then you're hesitant. For example, you might be hesitant skipping a red light because it's not the right thing to do.
Contrasting. Contrasting means opposite. When something is contrasting, it is opposite or strikingly different than something else. For example, black and white are contrasting colors. They are opposite to each other.
Placid. Placid is calm and peaceful. You can use placid to describe a lake or even a person if he's a calm person. Unlivable. When you're unable to live at some place because of some problem or issue, it becomes unlivable. An unlivable place is inhospitable or uncomfortable. For example, a dirty room and unclean room can be described as unlivable.
So now you know a lot about adjectives. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Make sure you watch all the other lessons that we have created for you and practice on our website. See you again with a new lesson soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, Tatiana.
Oh, the cornetto.
Okay, Tatiana, now we will have a look at a video about comparative adjectives, okay?
It's grammar.
Hello everyone, this is Andrew at Crown Academy of English. Today we are doing an English grammar lesson about comparative adjectives. Let's look at the use of comparative adjectives. We use comparative adjectives to compare two or more things, people, or places. So two or more. Example. The cat is smaller than the dog. So in green, we see the two things, cat and dog, that we are comparing. And we are comparing the size, in fact. And we are saying that the cat is smaller than the dog. And we use the word than after the comparative adjective to say what we are comparing something with. Here. So than comes after the comparative adjective and before the second thing that we are comparing with. So it separates the cat from the dog. Okay? The cat is smaller than the dog. This is the comparative adjective here. But sometimes it is more than one word. And that's what we're going to look at today. The rules. There is also another use of comparative adjectives, and so we can use them to compare one thing, person or place, but at different times. Okay? So this is last year, this is now. So it's the same person at different times. Jane is more active than last year. So this is one person, so we are comparing one person at two different times. Okay? So we are comparing Jane now compared to last year. Jane is more active than last year. Notice that we do not necessarily have to say the word now. it is implied in the sentence. And this time we use than after the comparative adjective to say what time period we are comparing something with. So here is than, and it comes after the comparative adjective and before a time period. So now let's look at the spelling and the rules for the form, because sometimes we have more than one word. So first of all, the rules for one syllable adjectives. For most one syllable adjectives, we add the letters ER. Hard becomes harder. Tall, taller. Short, shorter. Small, smaller. So you see, this is very easy. We add the letters ER. Example. Mr. Jones is taller than me. Mr. Jones is taller than me. Notice here we have used a personal pronoun, me. So there is a rule here. When we use a personal pronoun after a comparative, then we use an object personal pronoun. And the object personal pronouns are me, you, her, him, it, us, and them. So if we use a personal pronoun, we do not use a subject personal pronoun. So we do not say, Mr. Jones is taller than I, because I is a subject personal pronoun. That is wrong. For one syllable adjectives ending in the letter E, then we simply add the letter R. Nice, nicer. Fine, finer. Rare, rarer. Gold is rarer than silver. Okay? For one syllable adjectives ending in a consonant, vowel and consonant, so the last three letters, if they are a consonant, vowel and consonant, then we double the last consonant and we add ER. Big becomes bigger, because the last three letters are a consonant, vowel and consonant. So we double the last consonant, we double the letter G and we add ER. Fat, fatter. Hot, hotter. Thin, thinner. So we see it's the last three letters. Consonant, vowel, consonant. We double the N and we add ER. And all of these words are one syllable. The weather in Spain is hotter than England. So this is England and this is Spain. It is hotter here. Two-syllable adjectives. So for most two-syllable adjectives, for most cases, then we use the word more than the adjective. So this time the comparative adjective is in fact two words. So careful becomes more careful. more famous, more peaceful, more pleasant, and more useful. And of course there are other examples. I lost my keys yesterday. I need to be more careful. I need to be more careful. So this is implying that I need to be more careful in the future. So we do not say, I need to be carefuler. Carefuler is wrong. Usefuler is wrong. We must say more useful, more careful. Two-syllable adjectives ending in the letter Y. Well, we change the Y to an I, and then we add ER. Busy, busier. So we change this letter Y to an I and add ER. Easy, easier. Funny, funnier. Happy, happier. Jane is feeling happier than yesterday. Jane is feeling happier than yesterday. Okay? Two-syllable adjectives ending in ER, LE, or OW. So these are exceptions. And so for most of these adjectives, we add ER. Clever, cleverer. It's quite difficult to say it. Cleverer. Gentle, gentler. Narrow, narrower. Mark is cleverer than the other students. Cleverer. So clever is another word for intelligence. Intelligence. Okay? And for longer adjectives, so for adjectives with 3 or more syllables, then we always use more followed by the adjective. So it's very easy. More complicated. More enjoyable. More interesting. And you can see that try to say it using the other system. So try to say complicated-er. It's very difficult to say. Enjoyable-er. It's almost impossible to say. So that is why we use the word more. It is easier to say more enjoyable than enjoyable-er. Okay, so sometimes it is very logical. Jane thinks that skiing is more enjoyable than studying. More enjoyable. And irregular comparative adjectives. So there are some comparative adjectives which are irregular. They do not follow any rules at all. So good, comparative is better. It is not gooder, and it is not more good. It is only better. Bad is worse, not badder, not more bad. And far, we have 2 choices. We can either say further or farther. And the meaning and the use is exactly the same. So we choose. Old is either older or elder. but there are a few differences between the words older and elder. There are a few grammar rules that you need to learn. And I have another video on my channel which explains this. So if you just click here on the screen, that will open a new window, and I advise you to watch that video. Examples of irregular adjectives. I think that Messi is a better football player than Ronaldo. Better football player. This is the noun, and this is the comparative adjective. He's tired. He can't run any further. Okay. So there we are. That is the end of the lesson. I hope you've enjoyed it. Here are some other videos which I think you will be interested in. Simply click on the screen and the video will start. Okay? My name is Andrew at Crown Academy of English. Thanks for watching, and I will see you very soon. Bye bye.
Did you enjoy the video, Tatiana?
Yes, very interesting.
Okay. Now we'll have a look at that one.
Comparatives and superlatives. Comparatives compare two things. Cristiano is taller than Messi. Messi is shorter than Cristiano. Cristiano is older than Messi. Messi is younger than Cristiano. Pep is happier than Jose. Jose is angrier than Pep. Pep is friendlier than Jose. Jose is crazier than Pep. Tennis is more interesting than golf. Golf is more boring than tennis. Boxing is more aggressive than swimming. Swimming is less dangerous than boxing. At football, Brazil is better than America. America is worse than Brazil. At basketball, America is better than Brazil. Brazil is worse than America. Superlatives compare one thing to many others. Who is the tallest? Cristiano is the tallest. Who is the youngest? Messi is the youngest. Who is the happiest? Polo is the happiest. Who is the craziest? Jose is the craziest. Which sport is the most aggressive? Boxing is the most aggressive. Which sport is the least dangerous? Swimming is the least dangerous. Who is the best football player? He is the best football player. Who is the worst basketball player? He is the worst. Tall, short, old, young, happy, angry, friendly, crazy, interesting, boring, aggressive, dangerous, good, bad. Comparatives.
Okay, and now we'll
And superlatives.
the superlatives video, okay?
Today we are doing one lesson about superlative adjectives. So we use superlative adjectives to compare one thing in a group with all of the other things in a group. So we have a group of things or people, and we are comparing one thing or person in the group with all of the others. Example. Mark is the tallest person in the family. Mark is the tallest person in the family. So there is a group of people. So there are four things or people, four people, and we are comparing one thing or one person, Mark, with all the others. Okay? So this is the superlative here, tallest. And we use the word the definite article. So we use the before the superlative adjective because we are referring to one specific person or thing. How to modify a superlative? We can modify a superlative in several ways. Here is an expression, one of the, followed by a superlative, followed by a plural noun. Great Britain is one of the richest countries in the world. One of the richest countries. So this is important that when we use this expression, the noun is plural. And this means that, well, there are several very rich countries in the world, and Great Britain is one of those countries. So we have a big group of all the countries in the world. Then we have a smaller subgroup of richest countries, and Great Britain is in that smaller subgroup. Very similar, some of the, followed by the superlative, followed by a plural noun. So this is the same as this, except this is the plural form. New York, London, and Tokyo are some of the most expensive cities in the world. Some of the most expensive cities in the world. So we say some of the because we are talking about several things this time, 3 things. And the meaning is similar. There are several very expensive cities in the world, and New York, London and Tokyo are some of those cities. So again, we have a subgroup. We can also modify a superlative with an ordinal number. So what is an ordinal number? Well, let's have a look. So these are the normal numbers. We call them cardinal numbers. 1. And the ordinal numbers, they describe the order of something. The order of something. So first, for example, this is my first car. And so we have 2, second, 3, third, 4, fourth, and obviously many others. So we use ordinal numbers in an expression with superlatives. Let's look at an example. Well, this is the normal example. This is without an ordinal number. We have already seen this. This is simple. Mark is the tallest person in the family. But now we want to describe this person. And here is the structure. The plus ordinal number plus superlative. David is the second tallest person in the family. David is the second tallest person in the family. And Jane is the third tallest person in the family. Okay? And this person here, she would be the fourth tallest person in the family. Or we could say she is the shortest person in the family. Okay? So Mark is the tallest. We do not need to say first tallest. We simply say tallest. Second tallest, third tallest, fourth tallest, or the shortest. And we can also replace the with a possessive. Jane is my best friend. Jane is my best friend. Physics is her hardest exam. Physics is her hardest exam. So this is the possessive adjective here and here. Or we can say physics is Jane's hardest exam. This time we are using the person's name, and the possessive is with an apostrophe and the letter S. Let's look at the form. So for most one-syllable adjectives, we add EST. Hard becomes hardest. Tallest. Shortest. Smallest. Example: Mercury is the smallest planet in the solar system. Mercury is the smallest planet in the solar system. EST. For one-syllable adjectives ending in E, we add ST. Nicest, finest, rarest. Jane is the nicest person in the office. the nicest person in the office. For one-syllable adjectives ending in a consonant, vowel, and then a final consonant, we double the last consonant and we add est. Biggest. So we see we double the last consonant, the letter G, and then we add est. Fattest, hottest, thinnest. Spain is the hottest country in Europe. So we are comparing one country, Spain, with all of the other countries in Europe. So we use a superlative. For most two-syllable adjectives, we use most plus the adjective. So here we are using two words. Most careful, most famous, most peaceful, most pleasant, most useful. This is the most peaceful swimming pool that I have ever seen. The most peaceful swimming pool that I have ever seen. Two-syllable adjectives ending in the letter Y. We change the Y to I and add est. Busiest. So we've changed the Y to an I and add est. Easiest. Funniest. Happiest. Saturday is the busiest day of the week for shopping. So we are comparing one thing, we are comparing one day, Saturday, with all of the other days of the week. So we use the superlative, busiest. Two-syllable adjectives ending in ER, LE or OW. For the majority, we usually add EST. Cleverest, gentlest, narrowest. David is the cleverest boy in the class. Cleverest boy in the class. So this means he is the most intelligent. And longer adjectives with 3 or more syllables, we always use most plus the adjective. Most complicated, most enjoyable, most interesting. This is the most interesting book that I have ever read. And another example is the example I gave earlier. David is the most intelligent boy in the class. Intelligent, because it has 3 or more syllables. Okay? Irregular superlative adjectives, and some superlative adjectives are irregular, so there are no rules and you simply have to learn them. And I'm going to show you the 2 most common examples. So good in a superlative is best. So we do not say goodest, and we do not say most good. We say best. Bad is worst. We do not say baddest, and we do not say most bad. Example: he wants to be the best footballer in the world. In my opinion, she's the worst actress in Hollywood. The worst actress in Hollywood. So these are very common and they are irregular, so you must learn them. Okay, so there we are, that's the end of the lesson. Here are some other video lessons which I think you'll be interested in. So simply click on the screen and the video will start. So my name is Andrew at Crown Academy of English. Thanks for watching. I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.
Okay, Tatiana. Okay, Tatiana. Now I will explain you about the form of the comparatives and the superlatives. When we have one syllable in comparatives, we add ER. For example, we have cheap, we add ER. We have young, we add for example, we say the milk, the water is cheaper than milk. Comparative, you need add ER, you know, to compare two things. Is one rule in English grammar. And we have superlative, we add EST. For example, we say this hotel is the cheapest in the city, you know, because we are comparing between a group. In comparatives, we are comparing two, you know?
Yes, yes.
Okay, it's when we have one syllable. For example, cheaper is one syllable, younger is one syllable. Okay?
Okay.
Now, when we have adjectives, one syllable that ending in E, sorry, Tatiana. With the syllable is finished in E, like here, you add the R, you know? You only add R. E, when it's finished, you add S and T in superlative. For example, we have nice. It's nicer in comparative. For example, this city is nicer than, or for example, Manchester is nicer than Liverpool. You know? Or in superlative, for example, we say the chicken breast in Bula Bula restaurant is nicest than in another restaurant in Manchester. Okay? For example, the chicken breast in Bula Bula restaurant is the nicest in Manchester. Okay? For example, here, one syllable adjectives ending in consonant vowel. For example, yes, for this hot, you add another T, or big, for example, T-E-R. What we say? Manchester is hotter than Liverpool. And in superlative, Manchester is the hottest city in the UK. because we are grouping all the cities in the UK. Okay? For example, when finish in Y, you replace the Y for one Latin, yes, for one A, E, R. For example, happier, happiest, you know? Two or more syllables, adjectives, comparative, add more or less. That one is not important. In irregular adjectives like good, you don't say good if not better. For example, you don't say Manchester is good than Liverpool, you say Manchester is better. And when you will use superlatives, you say Manchester is the best city in the UK, for example. For bad, you say worse. You change bad for worse, for example. Yes. You understand?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. In the meaning, okay? Comparative adjectives are used to compare two things. John is thinner than Bob, okay? Or it's more expensive to travel by train than by bus. My house is smaller than my friend's house. Okay? Superlative adjectives are used to compare one thing with the rest of the group it belongs to. For example, John is the tallest in the class. He is the best football player in the team. This is the most expensive hotel I ever stayed in. Okay? Additional points. Comparatives can be modified with much, a lot, for a little, a bit, slightly. For example, Bob is much richer than I am. My mother's hair is slightly longer than mine. Okay?
What? So what is the word? Slighted?
It's like much. You know, you can change that for much, for bigger. You know. No, but it's much. Slighted is like much. And now, Tatiana, we'll have a look the Snow White video, okay? And after we will make an exercise that we have some worksheets about that.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Give me a sec. That is all with subtitles, okay?
Okay.
Give me a sec.
A very long time ago, in midwinter, when the snowflakes were falling like feathers from heaven, a beautiful queen sat sewing at her window, which had a frame of black ebony. As she worked, she looked sometimes at the falling snow, and it happened that she pricked her finger with her needle, so that 3 drops of blood fell upon the snow. The Queen said to herself as she looked at it, "Ah me, if only I had a dear little child who had skin as white as the snow, lips as rosy as the blood, and hair as black as the ebony window frame." Soon afterwards she had a little daughter, with skin white as snow, lips rosy as blood, and hair as black as ebony, and she was therefore called Little Snow White. But alas, when the little one was born, the good Queen died. A year passed away, and the King took another wife. She was a beautiful woman, but proud and haughty, and she could not bear that anyone else should surpass her in beauty. She had a mirror, and when she stood in front of it and asked, "Mirror, mirror upon the wall, who is the fairest of us all?" the mirror answered, "Thou, O Queen, art the fairest of all." And the Queen was contented, because she knew the mirror could speak nothing but the truth. But as time passed on, little Snow White grew more and more beautiful, until when she was 7 years old, she was as lovely as the bright day, and still more lovely than the Queen herself, so that when the lady one day asked her mirror, "Mirror, mirror upon the wall, who is the fairest of us all?" it answered, "O Lady Queen, though fair ye be, Snow White is fairer far to see." The Queen was shocked, and grew yellow and green with envy. And from that moment, envy and pride grew in her heart like rank weeds, so that she had no peace day or night, until one day she called her huntsman and said, "Take the child away into the woods and kill her, for I can no longer bear the sight of her. And when you return, bring with you her heart, that I may know you have obeyed my will." The huntsman dared not disobey, and he led Snow White out into the woods, and placed an arrow in his bow to pierce her innocent heart. But the little girl cried and begged him, saying, "Ah, dear huntsman, leave me my life. I will run away into the wild forest and never come home again." And as she was so beautiful, the huntsman had pity on her and said, "Run away then, you poor child." While to himself he thought, "The wild beasts will soon have devoured you." And yet it seemed as if a stone had been rolled from his heart, since he now no longer had to kill her. Then as a young wild boar came rushing by, he killed it, took out its heart, and carried it home to the Queen. The cook was ordered to prepare this, and the wicked Queen ate it, and thought she had eaten the heart of Snow White. Poor little Snow White was now all alone in the wild wood, and so frightened was she that she trembled at every leaf that rustled. Then she began to run, and ran over sharp stones and through thorns, and the wild beasts ran past her, but did her no harm. And she kept on running until she came to a little house where she went in to rest. Inside the cottage, everything she saw was tiny, but more dainty and clean than words can tell. Upon a white-covered table stood 7 little plates, and upon each plate lay a little spoon, besides which there were 7 knives and forks, and 7 little goblets. Against the wall, side by side, stood 7 little beds covered with perfectly white sheets. Snow White was so hungry and thirsty that she took a little food from each of the 7 plates and drank a few drops of wine from each goblet, for she did not wish to take everything away from one. Then, because she was so tired, she crept into one of the little beds, but it did not suit her. And then she tried the others, but one was too long, another too short, and so on, until she came to the 7th, which suited her exactly. So she said her prayers and soon fell fast asleep. When night fell, the masters of the little house came home. They were 7 dwarfs who worked with a pickaxe and spade, searching for copper and gold in the heart of the mountains. They lit their 7 candles and then saw that someone had been to visit them. The first said, "Who has been sitting on my chair?" The second said, "Who has been eating from my plate?" The third, "Who has taken my piece of bread?" The fourth, "Who has taken some of my vegetables?" The fifth, "Who has been using my fork?" The sixth, "Who has been cutting with my knife?" The 7th, "Who has been drinking out of my goblet?" The first looked round and saw that his bed was rumpled, so he said, "Who has been getting into my bed?" Then the others looked round and each one cried, "Someone has been getting into my bed too." But the 7th, when he looked at his bed, saw little Snow White, who was lying there asleep. And he called the others, who came running up, and they cried out with astonishment, and brought their 7 little candles, and let the light fall on little Snow White. "Oh, heavens! Heavens!" cried they. "What a lovely child!" And they were so glad that they did not wake her up, but let her sleep on in the bed. And the 7th dwarf slept with his companions, 1 hour with each, and so got through the night. When the sun rose, Snow White awoke, and oh, how frightened she was when she saw the 7 little dwarfs. But they were very friendly, and asked what her name was. "My name is Snow White," she answered. "And how did you come to get in our house?" asked the dwarfs. Then she told them how her cruel stepmother had intended her to be killed, but how the huntsman had spared her life, and she had run on until she reached the little house. And the dwarf said, "If you will take care of our house, cook for us, and make the beds, wash, mend, and knit, and keep everything neat and tidy and clean, then you may stay with us, and you shall lack for nothing." "Yes," answered Snow White, "with all my heart." And so she stayed. She kept the house neat and clean for the dwarfs, who went off early in the morning to search for copper and gold in the mountains, and who expected their meal to be standing ready for them when they returned at night. All day long Snow White was alone, and the good little dwarfs warned her to be careful to let no one into the house. "For," said they, "your stepmother will soon discover that you're living here." The Queen, believing of course that Snow White was dead, and that she had eaten her heart, and that therefore she was again the most beautiful lady in the land, went to her mirror and said, "Mirror, mirror upon the wall, Who is the fairest of us all? Then the mirror answered, O Lady Queen, though fair ye be, Snow White is fairer far to see. Over the hills and far away, she dwells with 7 dwarfs today. How angry she was, for she knew that the mirror spoke only the truth, and that the huntsman must have deceived her. She thought and thought how she might kill Snow White, for she knew she would have neither rest nor peace until she really was the most beautiful lady in the land. At length, she decided what to do. She painted her face and dressed herself like an old peddler woman, so that no one could recognize her. And in this disguise, she climbed the 7 mountains that lay between her and the dwarf's house. And she knocked at their door and cried, Pretty things to sell? Very cheap, very cheap. Snow White peeped from the window and said, Good day, good wife. And what are your wares? All sorts of pretty things, my dear, answered the woman. Silk and laces of every colour. And she held up a bright-coloured one made of pleated silks. Surely I might let this honest old woman come in, thought Snow White, and unbolted the door and bought the pretty lace. Dear, dear, what a sight for sore eyes you are, child, said the old woman. Come, let me lace you properly for once. Snow White had no suspicious thoughts, so she placed herself in front of the old woman that she might fasten her dress with her new silk lace. But immediately the wicked creature laced her bodice so tightly that she could not breathe, and she fell down upon the ground as though she were dead. Now, said the Queen, I am once more the most beautiful lady in all the land. When the dwarfs came home, they were very grieved to find their dear little Snow White lying upon the ground as though she were dead. They lifted her gently, and seeing that she was too tightly laced, they cut the silken cord, where she drew a long breath, and then gradually came back to life. When the dwarfs heard all that had happened, they said, The peddler woman was certainly the wicked queen. Now take care in future that you open the door to none when we are not with you. The wicked queen had no sooner reached home than she went to her mirror and said, Mirror, mirror upon the wall, who is the fairest of us all? And the mirror answered as before, O Lady Queen, though fair ye be, Snow White is fairer far to see. Over the hills and far away, she dwells with 7 dwarfs today. The blood rushed to her face as she heard these words, for she knew that Snow White must have come to life again. But I will manage to put an end to her yet, she said. And then, by using her witchcraft, she made a poisonous comb. Again, she disguised herself, climbed the 7 mountains, and knocked at the door of the 7 dwarfs' cottage, crying, Pretty little things to sell, very cheap today. Snow White looked out of the window and said, Go away, good woman, for I dare not let you in. "Surely you can look at my goods," answered the woman, and held up the poisonous comb, which pleased Snow White so well that she opened the door and bought it. "Come, let me comb your hair in the newest way," said the woman, and the poor unsuspicious child let her have her way. But no sooner did the comb touch her hair than the poison began to work, and she fell fainting to the ground. "There, you model of beauty," said the wicked woman. "You are done for at last." But fortunately, it was almost time for the dwarfs to come home, and as soon as they came in and found Snow White lying upon the ground, they guessed that her wicked stepmother had been there again, and set to work to find out what was wrong. They soon saw the poisonous comb and drew it out of her hair, and almost immediately Snow White began to recover and told them what had happened. Once more they warned her to be on her guard and to open the door to no one. When the Queen reached home, she went straight to the mirror and said, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of us all?" And the mirror answered, "O Lady Queen, though fair ye be, Snow White is fairer far to see. Over the hills and far away, she dwells with 7 dwarfs today." When the Queen heard these words, she shook with rage. "Snow White shall die," she cried, "even if it costs me my own life." She went into a secret chamber where no one else ever entered, and there she made a poisonous apple, and then she painted her face and disguised herself as a peasant woman, and climbed the 7 mountains and went to the dwarf's house. She knocked at the door. Snow White put her head out of the window and said, "I must not let anyone in. The 7 dwarfs have forbidden me to do so." "It's all the same to me," answered the peasant woman. "I shall soon get rid of these fine apples. But before I go, I'll make you a present of one." "Oh no," said Snow White, "for I must not take it." "Surely you are not afraid of poison?" said the woman. "See, I will cut one in 2. The rosy cheek you shall take, and the white cheek I will eat myself." Now, the apple had been so cleverly made that only the rose cheek side contained the poison. Snow White longed for the delicious-looking fruit, and when she saw that the woman ate half of it, she thought there could be no danger, and stretched out her hand and took the other part. But no sooner had she tasted it than she fell down dead. The wicked Queen laughed out loud with joy as she gazed at her. "White as snow, red as blood, black as ebony. This time the dwarves cannot take you." And she went straight home and asked her mirror, "Mirror, mirror upon the wall, who is the fairest of us all?" And at length it answered, "Thou, O Queen, art fairest of all." So her envious heart had peace at last, as much as an envious heart can have peace. When the little dwarfs came home at night, they found Snow White lying upon the ground. No breath came from her parted lips, for she was dead. They lifted her tenderly and sought for some poisonous object which might have caused the mischief, and laced her frock, combed her hair, and washed her with wine and water, but all in vain. Dead she was, and dead she remained. They laid her upon a bier, and all 7 of them sat round it, and wept as though their hearts would break for 3 whole days. When the time came that she should be laid in the ground, they could not bear to part from her. Her pretty little cheeks were still rosy red, and she looked just as though she was still living. "We cannot hide her away in the dark earth," said the dwarfs. And so they made her a transparent coffin of shining glass and laid her in it, and wrote her name upon it in letters of gold, and that she was the king's daughter. Then they put the coffin out upon the mountain top, and one of them always stayed by it and watched it. And birds came too, and wept for Snow White, first an owl, then a raven, and last a dove. For a long, long time, little Snow White lay in the coffin, but she did not change. She only looked as though she slept, for her skin was still as white as snow, her lips as red as blood, and her hair as black as ebony. It chanced that a king's son came into the wood and went to the dwarf's house, meaning to spend the night there. He saw the coffin upon the mountain top, with little Snow White lying within it, and he read the words that were written upon it in letters of gold. And he said to the dwarfs, "If you will but let me have the coffin, you may ask of me what you will, and I will give it to you." But the dwarfs answered, "We would not sell it for all the gold in the world." Then said the prince, "Let me have it as a gift, I pray you, for I cannot live without seeing little Snow White, and I will prize your gift as the dearest of my possessions." The good little dwarfs pitied him when they heard these words, and so gave him the coffin. The king's son then bade his servants place it upon their shoulders and carry it away. But as they went, they stumbled over the stump of a tree, and the violent shaking shook the piece of poisonous apple which had lodged in Snow White's throat out again, so that she opened her eyes, raised the lid of the coffin, and sat up alive once more. "Where am I?" she cried, and the happy prince answered, "Thou art with me, dearest." Then he told her all that had happened, and how he loved her better than the whole world, and begged her to go with him to his father's palace and be his wife. Snow White agreed and went with him, and the wedding was celebrated with great splendour and magnificence. Little Snow White's wicked stepmother was invited to the feast, and when she had dressed herself in the most beautiful clothes, she stood before her mirror and said, "Mirror, mirror upon the wall, who is the fairest of all?" And the mirror answered, "O Lady Queen, though fair ye be, the young queen is fairer to see." Oh, how angry the wicked woman was then, and so terrified too, that she scarcely knew what to do. At first she thought she would not go to the wedding at all, but then she felt she could not rest until she had seen the young queen. No sooner did she enter the palace than she recognised little Snow White and could not move for terror. But as punishment for the evil, wicked stepmother's ways, a pair of red-hot iron shoes was brought into the room with tongs and set before her, and these she was forced to put on and to dance in them until she could dance no longer, but fell down dead. And that was the end of the wicked queen. And that was the story of Snow White by the Brothers Grimm. You'll find loads more stories on storynori.com. Until then, from me, Natasha, bye-bye.
Tatiana, now I would like that you make an exercise about comparatives and superlatives. After watch the video, we have using the adjectives below, compare these characters and place from the history of Snow White. Queen Emerald, Snow White, the draw. Okay, you have all the exercise here.
Okay.
And okay, you work please. And you have 10 minutes, Tatiana. Uh-huh.
Tallest. Youngest. Comfortable. Comfortable. Smallest. Comfortable. Comfortable.
Okay, Tatiana, you finish?
Yes.
Okay, can you read for me the
Okay.
questions, please, the answer of the question?
Number one is Snow White is more beautiful than Queen Esmeralda.
Very good, excellent.
Number two is Snow White is cleaner than the dwarf.
Excellent, yeah.
Three, Queen Esmeralda is taller than the dwarf.
Yes.
The palace is bigger than the dwarf house. It's okay. The spider is smaller than the cow. The pig is dirtier than the frog.
Very good, Tatiana.
Okay.
Second is now write 3 comparison between you and a friend or family.
My brother is taller than me.
Very good.
My father is the the
Yes.
tallest. My sister is the second tallest person in the family.
No, here is my sister is the tallest person in the family, not the second, the tallest.
Okay.
Okay?
The tallest person in the family.
Yes.
Three.
Okay, the three is superlatives now.
Superlatives.
Write 5 more sentences using the superlative.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay. The mouse is the smallest.
Excellent.
Snow White is the most beautiful.
Excellent.
Snow White is the youngest.
Excellent.
The palace is the most comfortable.
Comfortable. Yeah.
London is busy city.
No, it's the busiest.
Sorry. London is the busiest city.
Okay. Yes, Tatiana is excellent. Now we will finish the class, Tatiana, because I need to go to work, you know. And nice to teach you. I hope, I wish you the best for the next time, okay? For your future. Okay, you have something to say, Tatiana?
Thank you very much, Teacher Carlos. I learned a lot in your English class.
Yeah.
You are a very teacher, good, very
Okay.
good teacher. I like your method.
Yes.
To teach.
Okay.
Thank you very
No,
much.
you're welcome, Tatiana. Have a nice holidays, okay? Now holidays.
Thank you.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.